So let's dive into that road trip real quick. In game one, this was McGill's struggles, right? I think that was the big story of the game for game one. So Friday night was Tyler McGill on the mound, struck out 4 batters. So I mean, he did have some good stuff on the early going, but not really good with his control. He only lasted 2 2/3, had 5 walks, and that was really his undoing. Had 4 earned runs and just put the Mets in a hole that they couldn't get out of early. It was 4-0 before you knew it. And, give credit to Carlos Rodon and the Yankee pitching staff for keeping the Mets bats off balance all night. But, I kind of felt like this was a loss on Tyler McGill. You can't start the game off being down 4-0. But, you know, this was one of those starts that I also thought that, showed a lot of guts from the Mets bullpen to at least keep us in the game. And, the Mets bench just didn't have it on Friday night. So that was the first game of the road trip that started out on the wrong foot. But, I did like what I saw in game two, as you had Griffin Canning pitching against a very tough Yankee lineup, go 5 1/3, had 2 earned runs, only walked one, and struck out 4. I thought that was really strong outing, went into the 6th inning, and this was one of his better outings. I thought that, the games earlier that he had against the Philadelphia Phillies, that one start was really good. And I thought that was his coming out party. I was at that game at Citi Field. This game here against the Yankees in a tough environment, you're already down 1-0 in the Subway Series. This really showed a lot of who Griffin Canning could be. I thought that Griffin Canning showed a lot of moxie in this game. I thought he showed a lot of guts, and that was really nice to see. Diaz also was lights out in the 9th inning. That was also, didn't have a lot of those from Diaz so far this year, but when you get, and of course, Aaron Judge had to be the last out, and I kind of joked with my friend about that because I was like, oh, here we go, mano a mano matchup. Aaron Judge with a chance to win it with a walk-off home run. The Yankees had a man on base. Diaz had one of his good pitching outings. He threw a 99-mile-per-hour fastball up in the zone, got Aaron Judge to bite on that, and they got the win. So that was a 3-2 Met victory. I thought that was a really good rebound from Friday night. Now, the last game, and I think this is why Yankee fans really didn't give it to me Monday morning, was that David Peterson did go 6 innings and had a pretty good start. Gave up 2 runs, one of them was earned, 4 strikeouts, did have 4 walks, so that wasn't good. But, he matched Max's Fried's energy. I thought that was really good. They both went 6 innings. I thought that David Peterson showed that he could match, what the Yankees were trying to do there. Obviously, at the end, the game got away. Bullpen didn't really have it. Stanek, amongst others. I know we had that. I will talk about that. Pete Alonso throw to home in the 8th inning kind of opened up the floodgates a little bit. But again, you can't come into a bowl game if you're Stanek and give up a walk and give up a double and put the Mets in trouble like that. This Yankee lineup's going to hit. They kept getting guys on base all night. So, with that being said, it was a disappointing way to lose. Giving up grand slam to Cody Bellinger didn't help, making it 8-2 the final in the third game. I thought that was very disappointing. But you know what? If you look at it, that score was a little misleading because at the end of the day, the Mets did play the Yankees pretty well in that series. I don't think they got outplayed completely. I just think they didn't play to their standards, and that was solid defense and good quality pitching. I think that at the end of the day, when you face these good teams, that's what you need, and the Mets let us down a little bit with that. With that being said, that's the first series that they really didn't play up to the standard that they've been playing all year. So I'm not really going to kill them for that. Even though they did lose 2 out of 3 against Boston, let's get into that real quick. Kodai Senga went 6 innings, had 5 strikeouts, gave up 3 runs, and had a quality start. Gave up 5 hits. They gave up a couple of hard hit balls to Duran, which led to some runs. It was just a 3-1 loss, though. So it really wasn't that we got outplayed completely. It was, again, offense. This road trip was not good. So we're going to talk about that a lot today. It looks like our offense has kind of fell off the map a little bit. And this is going to be a common theme throughout the podcast today. It's just me talking about how missed opportunities have killed this team on this road trip. And, I'm not one to really cry about that stuff. I always try to look at the positive in those things. Go, you know what? We were just 1 hit away. We were one run away. We had bases loaded late in the game and we almost came back. I always try to look at the positive. But again, this is just one of those road trips where nothing kind of went right for the Mets. Even when it did go right, the Mets found a way to make it not go right. And I know that a lot of Met fans know that that's kind of a common theme in our history of being Met fans. But again, from last year, how the Mets were being on the 500, 11 games in May, to being, where they are right now, as I do this podcast, being 30 and 20 going into a Friday night series against the Dodgers. They're 10 games above 500 now at the end of May. We've got one more week left, so we'll see how many wins we can get. But, being 30 and 20 is not a bad thing. So, again, I'm not going to say that I'm disappointed in this team. I think that because of the signings that they made, and because, like I have always repeated on the show, the moves that David Stearns makes behind the scenes to improve this team, we expect to win a lot, and we expect to win every series. And I think we've kind of hit that wall where we got to kind of be humble and just take it how it goes. We're not always going to win every series. But with that being said, I was happy with the way Clay Holmes pitched in Game 2. To continue on, he had 6 innings as well, pitched a quality outing, had 5 strikeouts, walked 3 batters, but 2 solo home runs was all he gave up. And the Mets ended up losing that game 2-0. So, again, just another offensive collapse by the Mets, not taking advantage of what they could take advantage of. And you kind of like letting your team down with that. If you're, an offense that's built on home runs and RBIs and you're not doing that, the pitching staff can only do as much as they can do. So I'm not going to kill Holmes for that either. Holmes took a great game. And this is 2 of the best pitchers that the Mets have had, Sanger and Holmes, and you get no wins out of that. That could be a little bit deflating. But in the third game, I like how Tyler McGill rebounded from that start against the Yankees. That was the big thing on this road trip that I took out, was his second game of that road trip in Boston after that terrible start against the Yankees. Went 4 2/3, got 10 strikeouts, 1 walk, going to give up a run. This was also a game where Beatty had 3 RBIs. I think Brett Beatty's been turning a corner lately. That's another thing that I wanted to highlight during this review. And also Lindor had a big home run late over the Green Monster. So that was great to see. He now leads the team with 10 home runs, which is kind of crazy that it's not even the end of May and Lindor has 10 home runs. He's definitely on a pace to compete for MVP. But with that being said, the Mets won 5-1 in the finale of that game. So they salvaged the series. They didn't get swept. So that was good to see. So all in all, a 2-4 road trip. Not the best turn of events. I thought if they would have won 3 and took, just had a 50-50 road trip, that would have been good. Again, that's not always going to happen. So good to see them play good baseball at least and try to just survive, for lack of a better word. I don't really know what to say. I know I should say something maybe a little bit brighter, but again, this is me just being honest as a Met fan. I think that sometimes these good teams and these stretches in the schedule, realistically, you want to just survive. And I think the Mets did that. I would have liked to have seen them win maybe 3 or 4 games, but again, you can't win every single game or every single series. So with that being said, I feel the Mets did a good job of at least playing good baseball at the end of the day in Boston. It was really nice to see. So, right now, after that road trip, the Mets are in second place. The Phillies are kind of getting hot. We kind of figured that was going to happen at some point. This is going to be a test for the Mets now. Now we're in second place. We got, Atlanta heating up. They're getting healthy. Now is the time of the Mets in this schedule going into June. We're in late May. They're stumbling a little bit, and I think this is going to be a good test to see where the Mets are as a team. Right now we're in late May. I still don't know where the Mets story will be. Still don't know what their identity is as a team, really. Last year it was the OMG. It was the Power Grimace. It was all those cool, funny things that we kind of hung our hat on. This year it's kind of like the Juan Soto effect. Pete Alonso's resurgence. Those are the early season stories. I don't really know what the cliche or the story or what this team's going to hang their hat on, what that's going to be yet. But hopefully soon we'll figure that out. Baseball has a funny way of giving us stories. That's it. With that being said, the Mets are in second place, just a game and a half out of first. They're still very much in the race in the National League East. But again, this is the National League where, I think the Mets are going to have to win the division in order to make the playoffs. I'm a little nervous about the wild card. And that's because of all those good teams in the National League. You got an improved Cubs team, you got San Diego, you got an improved San Francisco Giants. So, the Mets are kind of in that mix right now of, and, you also have Atlanta and Philly in your own division. And, of course, Dodgers and, even Milwaukee that, has been struggling, but still won the division the last couple of years in the Central. So we have all these teams, 7 or 8 teams that could possibly make the playoffs, and only the 7 make it in. So will the Mets be one of those teams? I still think they will be. I don't think that the playoffs shouldn't be a thing that the Mets should already have in the bag. But again, stranger things have happened. So I think if the Mets just keep doing what they're doing, they'll be fine. But again, I always want to stay humble and just be honest with what's going on in the National League. I think the National League is stacked. So if you do make the playoffs in the National League, I think that's an accomplishment in itself. But just making the playoffs, like I said when I first started this podcast, is not good enough. I think getting to the National League Championship and redeeming ourselves, getting to the World Series is what every Met fan has been striving for and what every Met fan really deserves. So, with that said, let's preview the series against the Dodgers. So on Friday night, we have Clayton Kershaw making his second start of the season. His first start, he did give up 5 runs. I think the Mets could hit him. It's still a little chilly at Citi Field. I think that could help. He's going to be going up against Griffin Canning, who's 5-1 so far in the season. Big game Griffin Canning, right? That's kind of what I've been nicknaming him lately because he faced the Phillies and he faced the Yankees, and he's set up. So I don't really see any reason why he can't step up against the Dodgers on Friday night. In Game 2, we have Gosling, who's 2-0 with a 4.05 ERA against David Peterson, who's 2-2 with a 2.86 ERA. That's Saturday's matchup. And then to close it out, we have Kodai Senga and a sparkling 1.43 going up against Landon Knack, who's 2-1 with a 6.17 ERA. So this is a series that the Mets can take 2 out of 3. I don't see why the Mets can't take 2 out of 3 in this series, especially being that it's at home. You just struggled against the Yankees in Boston, so I think you're looking for some redemption. You're looking for a way to rebound and get back on the track. And, I kind of like the face the LA Dodgers. We have our backs against the wall, go back. Let's see what we can do. Let's put our best foot forward. Let's show that we're not just the New York Mets who are just going to do just good enough to make the fan base happy. Let's go out there and let's hit some home runs. Let's run the base as well. Let's play fundamental defense. Let's pitch to the level that we pitch. And I think if we do that, we can show the Dodgers that we're for real and that we're going to be there. So, with that said, let's get to the fun little activity that I had for us today, and that's the Mount Rushmore of the New York Mets. I'm going to start off with, I have some notes here. I had a lot of research to do, a lot of stats to look up, some special stats, like home runs, just stuff the guys did during their career. I think is important criteria. So, what I did learn doing this Mount Rushmore research was you don't really appreciate what certain Met players have done. Me, for example, I've been a Met fan since the 90s, 42, and I just, looking at certain positions, I will say this is what I learned. Looking back from 62 till now, 2025, there's some positions that when I was going through first base, second base, third base, all that, even the outfield and pitchers, this definitely is like Gary Cohen says on the TV, and how Gary and Pete and Ron always said is a franchise that's deep pitching, but certain positions will surprise you. How have a lot of position players that you can say, oh man, who am I going to leave off the list? I kind of found myself picking at my brain to see who I was going to put as that fourth guy because what a Mount Rushmore is the top 4, and I felt like some positions they had guys that automatically would make the list. And then I was like, who am I going to put as that fourth guy? Because I don't want to leave him out, or I felt bad leaving another guy out. And then when you look at stats, you go, man, you can really go either way with some of these guys. And first base is going to be one of those positions where I think you guys might not only be surprised, but you might kill me in the comments a little bit with some of my choices. At least at, as far as the, I guess, that was the first base, you might be surprised with who I left out or who I didn't put in. But let's get into it, and then we'll see where it goes. I hope you guys don't kill me with the comments because I think this is objective. To start off first base, I think I would be doing the Mount Rushmore any justice if I could put a Mr. Ed Kranepool Mount Rushmore list. This is the guy that It started out in the beginning of the Mets history. As part of the '69 championship Mets, the Miracle Mets. He played in the 1973 World Series. So I definitely showed his greatness as a New York Met. He played 18 seasons with the New York Mets. Made the Mets Hall of Fame in 1990. Had over 1,400 hits. Had 1,418 hits overall. Had 614 RBIs. Had 118 home runs. So not really much of a power hitter in those 18 years, but that really wasn't his game. He was more of a hitter. Had a solid average of 261 lifetime as a Met, and just was the class act. I know that a lot of Hall of Fame Mets, full-time Mets, have always spoke highly of Ed Kranepool. He was one of my dad's favorites growing up as a Met fan. So shout out Dad. Ed Kranepool made the list. So you got your guy. The early goings of the New York Met fandom. Second, Mount Rushmore first base is a Mr. Keith Hernandez. Made the Mets Hall of Fame in 1995, 97. Played 7 seasons with the Mets. Had 80 home runs, 468 RBIs, a unbelievable 297 time average as a New York Met. 429 slug. Had 939 hits, 6 Gold Gloves through 1983 all the way to '88. Three-time All-Star. Was on the Mets broadcast booth from 2002 till today. So I've been in the booth for quite some time, almost my whole life as a Met fan. I definitely enjoyed being on the radio broadcast. He was a captain of the New York Mets back in the '80s, one of few captains set out precedent to mention. He was obviously part of that '86 championship team. He was a Silver Slugger back in '84. Obviously had his number retired as well. His 17 Raptors where it belongs. And so, yeah, so first 2 Mets on the Mount Rushmore first baseman is well deserved by 2 of them. Third member of the first baseman Mount Rushmore is Pete Alonso. I know that might surprise some people, being that he's still playing, but with everything that's going on with Pete Alonso chasing the home run record all time for the New York Mets, he's looking to break that this season. He has 235. Looking to break Strawberries 252. With that being said, I think that's one reason why he should be on this list. He's a full-time All-Star. He's played 6 seasons with the New York Mets. As of now, he's in his 7th season with the Mets. Has a 540 slug. Has 781 hits going into the season. He's over 300 now, so he's just racking up stats. There's over 600 guys. What else? Rookie year in 2019 has a home run derby titles. All of that accumulated in a 7-year career. I think is pretty impressive. And we'll see what Pete Alonso does. I think that Pete Alonso is going to continue to play this rate. Obviously, I hope that Pete Alonso continues to do what he's doing as a New York Met. And I don't see why he can't be an all-time Met. If with that being said, definitely deserves to be on the Mount Rushmore first base for the New York Mets. And here's where I had the issue going forward with this 4th member of Mount Rushmore. I had 2 Mets that I was competing, and this is where the objective part of it comes in. You had John Orwood, who was on the Mets 3 years, over 300 average, 500 slug, on base percentage of 400, was an on base machine, just awesome first baseman as far as the love. In 3 years, he did have 291 RBIs. Was definitely an RBI guy as well. But as I look at it, I go, okay, you have another guy in Carlos Delgado, who in the mid 2000s was also pretty solid first baseman. Maybe not with love. He was nowhere near as good as a first baseman as John Oliver was. But, could have a pretty solid average for a power hitter at 267. At 500 slow as well. His on-base percentage was at 351, so it was lower than John Oliver was. But if you look at the home runs and RBIs, and even though he had a 4-year career with the Mets, Carlos Delgado, his 4th year was short by injury. So look at even in a 3-year stint, having 100 home runs and 339 RBIs, almost 500 hits, I kind of want to put Carlos Delgado on this list as the worst man, and I think that's where I'm going to lean, only because, yeah, you can say both guys get to a national championship with the Mets back in 1999 with Paul Rudd, Delgado back in 2006. Delgado had 2 years offensively where he was the best offensive first base baseball. Was the guy. 38 home runs in each of those 2 seasons. That he was dominant. Over 100 RBIs in each of those seasons. And was just a solid presence in that lineup for the 4 years that it was there. You didn't want to walk Beltran in another spot. You had a pitching because he was being protected by the right. Carlos Delgado was a presence in that lineup. Whereas, I don't think John Root had the same presence. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I don't remember John Root as much as somebody else. But, so I'm going to put Delgado as my fourth choice as the Mount Rushmore of the Mets first baseman. To close that out, just to give you a little bit of a recap, we had Ed Kranepool, Pete Hernandez, Pete Alonso, and Carlos Delgado, or the 4 Mets that I chose as my Mount Rushmore for first baseman. And, let's hope that the Mets history gets a little bit better with first baseman. Hopefully, we can talk about knocking Delgado off. But until then, I think that's the 4 that we should go with. I think that's fair. So, where it should go. That's really just to say about the Met history, like I said. When you got to that last spot, it was pretty tough. So, going through the numbers, I think I made the right choice. With that said, next week we'll do base. But, let's see what we do this weekend against the LA Dodgers. Tough homestand coming up. Dodgers Friday night. Let's put our best foot forward. Let's hope that that's get back to win. Until then, I will see you guys next week. So let's go, Mets. Let's stay amazing, everybody. Take care.